Okay. Robert Spencer, let's get you in on the debate from Manchester, New Hampshire.
Well, I believe that if the government doesn't have an obligation to protect her, certainly it should view the option of protecting her as a privilege. Because, as Irshad Manji has very eloquently stated, this is not something that should be a matter of hurt feelings or a matter of incitement. These things are all brought up as deflections from the real facts, which are that if Muslims were not committing violence and justifying them in the name of Islam all around the world today, then nobody would pay any attention to Ayaan Hirsi Ali at all. But the fact that they are is something that reform-minded Muslims need to have the courage to address. And you cannot reform something you won't admit needs reforming. So when Ayaan Hirsi Ali speaks in this allegedly inflammatory language about Muhammad and about Islam, it is an opportunity for Muslims who believe that there is a way to be Islamic in the world today without believing in violence against or the subjugation of unbelievers to speak up and to fashion an Islam that rejects the elements of Islam that Ayaan Hirsi Ali has pointed out. But that can never happen if she has to live herself under the threat of violence all the time. And it would seem to me that any society that believes in the freedom of speech has to understand that this means the freedom to offend, that offensive speech is precisely what was originally envisioned as being protected by freedom of speech laws in the United States and in Europe, that the idea of speaking out against the established authorities, against the conventional wisdom is offensive to people. But that's precisely why it needs protection if there's going to be any genuine free inquiry, and in this case, in particular, any reform in Islam.
Okay, Robert, let me ask you this then. If roles were reversed, so to speak, and a U.S. member of Congress stood up and said, Jesus was a pervert. I believe he slept with prostitutes. He deserves no respect. What response would you expect from the United States? If his life were therefore threatened by, conservative Christians who felt deeply insulted and offended by his speech, would you expect the U.S. taxpayer to cover his security?
Well, in the first place, the whole scenario is fanciful because conservative Christians don't generally behave in that way. There is no parallel to Theo van Gogh in the Christian world. Andres Serrano submerged a crucifix in a jar of urine, and it was celebrated as art. He was never under fear of his life, and he thrives today. So the scenario itself only points up the fact that there is a problem within Islam today that needs to be faced. But getting to the point of the question, certainly, I think that the U.S. government would need to speak out and be willing to protect freedom of speech. Otherwise, freedom of speech itself becomes hollow. If any group is placed beyond criticism, beyond offense, then it becomes a protected class. And that cuts to the heart of a pluralistic society in which freedom of inquiry is valued.
Okay, let me get Abed Ayoub. I'd like to get to your...
Andrea, can I just jump in?
Go ahead, Irshad.
Andrea, just quickly wanted to make the point, springing, off of what Robert Spencer has just said, that in our multicultural world, it is very easy to confuse being offended with being discriminated against. The two are not the same. Being offended and from time to time causing offense is the price that we pay for living in a diverse society. And if diversity is limited only to race and religion, then it's very superficial. Deeper diversity, meaningful diversity, also has to be about diversity of opinion and thought.
Okay. Abed Ayoub, I wanted to put the same hypothetical situation to you as I put to Robert and get your response on that.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Well, I think that there would be, if a congressman or a senator did stand and do that during a session, there would be a backlash against him. There would be a few irate members of any community that gets offended or gets discriminated against is going to get upset. Should the government flip the bill for his protection? What bothers me is he brought it on himself. He knows the ramifications. He knows what's going to happen. Unfortunately, this is what these words are going to do. I don't think it's a very fine line. It's a very question. I'm not sure, first of all, what protection she's looking for in France. What would they be providing to her? Is my question, to be able to answer that further.
Well, to be honest with you, she said so far she's not expecting anything. I think she's being deliberately vague about what her needs are. But the truth is she has a multi-million-dollar security bill that has accumulated over the years since she's come out and taken this stance. So you're talking about a major taxpayer bill here.
Yeah, a major taxpayer bill. I mean, it's what this reminds me of is the asylum protections we have here for individuals, granting them asylum. I would say the furthest that France should go is maybe grant her asylum. But as far as taxpayer money, now that comes into play in multi-million dollars, I don't think it should happen just because she brought this onto herself. She's going out there. She's very outspoken, which we're not against. But she knows that this is going to incite people and this is going to cause problems in the community.
Okay. Interesting though.
To say that people bring it upon themselves is really dismissive of anybody who calls for change. I mean, if in fact you agree, which you seem to, that we need more debate, how is it then that you can say that people who are calling for more debate, should not be getting the protection that they ultimately deserve because they've brought it upon themselves? How then does progress ever take place, Abed? Can you answer that question?
Well, Irshad, let me.
Well, I feel
Go ahead, Abed.
Well, I mean, I feel we are open for debate. However, to flip the debate to the taxpayers and their money, I really don't see that as something that we should be doing. You could take that as, let's go back,
how does that
to
debate
1968.
happen?
To 1968, should the
she doesn't get this
taxpayers
protection.
Robert was saying she's going to be killed if she ultimately he believes she will. Robert Spencer believes she will be killed if she doesn't get this protection.
This is not really a matter of. It's not really an open question. Theo van Gogh was murdered. In Europe, the situation is very bad. Geert Wilders is under police protection 24 hours a day. She's going to be killed if she doesn't get this protection. It would seem to me that if the taxpayers are apprised of the fact by some wise leaders, of whom there are very few on the ground, certainly, but if they were apprised of the fact that this is the price that we have to pay for a pluralistic society, for free inquiry, for standing up to the tyranny that would extinguish all freedom of expression, then this is something that they would understand. But if you say, well, you brought it upon yourself, then you're effectively saying that anybody who brings it upon himself, who takes it upon himself to speak out in ways that other people find offensive or uncomfortable, has to bear the consequences. Well, that's just effectively ending any possibility of freedom of expression.
Robert
because
Spencer,
those who offend Islam are going to be killed, and that's the end of it.
You're going to have the last word for this half of the debate, but we will return in 12 minutes' time and continue this discussion, so do stay with us.